The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by EdgeBoost. Bank over better. Sign up today. EdgeBoost. Member code SGPN when you sign up for your new account. You'll get a free Refs or Terrorists t-shirt. Claim your shirt at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/refs. We're also brought to you by NYRA Bets. You can get a $25 free bet for the Belmont by going to nyrabets.com/SGPN25, promo code SGPN25. And welcome, everybody, to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's currently Friday morning, June 6th, around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, episode Sky Reichel, once again joined by Lonte Smith. Together, we're going to break down the games, not for Friday, not for Saturday, but for Sunday, Game 2 of the Finals, an early breakdown. As you know, in the NBA Finals, we have the lines very early, so no reason to wait on it. We'll take it now because we had some free time on our hands, decided to get it out of the way. So, of course, said before, I'm joined by Lonte. How's it going with you? What's up?
Pretty good, man. What an amazing game last night. What an amazing game to start off the finals. Well, unless you're OKC fan. But yeah, man, what a great game and what a great way to start off the finals. Excited, ready for game 2 already.
Yeah, definitely a very unforgettable comeback by the Pacers. You know, I don't really care about the finals. Who cares about the Thunder and the Pacers? Well, you just missed out on a great all-time comeback in the NBA Finals. So, sucks to suck if you ended up missing that because you'd rather watch nothing. What else were you supposed to watch last night? Baseball?
Valkyries and
That
Mercury.
was that. Speaking of choke jobs, by the way, 18-1 run to close the game for the Mercury. Shout out to them. But yeah, you know what I'm
LA
saying,
6.
though. You weren't really competing with anything for the NBA Finals. So if you avoided watching it, that's a you problem. Like, that's a you problem. It was great basketball. What else were you supposed to put on TV? But I had a good time. It was a great game. Ended up also cashing my lock on the Mothership show. I had Hartenstein first quarter over 1.5 points. And he didn't even start, but he got there anyway, so it worked out for me. But either way, we know that the Thunder did collapse. We'll get into the breakdown of that collapse in a second. Do want to ask you, though, for the sake of the picks, I was not on the episode for the game 1. How'd your picks do?
1-1. I went with the Pacers plus the points as the lock, and I went with a 2-game parlay with Chet, the points for Chet and Jalen for their overs, and obviously neither got there. Chet was horrible. I know we'll get into that later, but yeah, 1-1. I'm not sure what Real did for his dog, but I know he was oppo me. He went with the Thunder. I can't remember what his dog was, and our underdog entry didn't stand a chance after Hartenstein went crazy in that first quarter. But yeah, I think overall, pretty solid day. I mean, I think the game kind of played out similar to how I mean we'll get into that later, but it played out a little similar to what I thought. Just I didn't think they would win, but yeah, I think overall decent show. I think the breakdowns are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely going to go a bit more in depth in a second. Before into that, the reminder that you can also check out all of our podcasts and picks for free for the Stanley Cup, College Baseball World Series. You have the NBA Finals on the SGPN app. Get it wherever you get your apps. A reminder, it is completely free to download. So if you do want to find all of our podcasts and picks without having to scroll through the different YouTube channels that we have, check out the App Store because we have all of it in one location. Anyway, time to go into a bigger deep dive on what happened for the game 1 that we saw yesterday. The Pacers won game 1. Somehow. I can't even describe the amount of mental toughness this team has. It's an all-time title run if they pull this off to the end because they have found themselves in massive holes in every series, and they have invented ways to win games. So Indiana was down 15 with like 8 and change to go in the fourth quarter. They turned the ball over 19 times in the first half. I thought it was 20, but there was a stat correction apparently, but it was 19 turnovers in the first half, and they came back and won. So I'll ask you how you want to break it down because the Thunder were ahead by, I want to say it was 9 with less than 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And Indiana came back, but I want to find the exact score that it was when they made the comeback. So the Thunder led by, I see 8 with 3:08 to go,
Yeah.
and they
Right.
blew the game. They led by 9 with 2:52 to go, and they blew the game.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start?
I mean, I think the best place to start is just with giving credit to the Pacers for another incredible effort, come from behind, and I thought it was a tale of two halves. I think Carlisle did a really good job. Number one, of realizing, hey, we cannot have Halliburton initiate all of our offense, and we cannot have him do these things that we want him to do because Lou Dort is just so good defensively, and they're just so good in help. And Tyrese is just not getting the job done. So he put Nimhard on the ball more, which shows I think Nimhard had 6 assists, if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of those came in that second half. So I think that's a great job by Carlisle. Number one, of realizing like in game, hey, this is not working. Let's do something else. And I thought that was a really good job by him. Um, the I mean, the Pacers, man, they didn't play well for like 42 minutes, 42, 43 minutes, and then the last 6 or 7 minutes, I think they played really, really well. They forced OKC to do things that they didn't want to do late in the game. But overall, I mean, I know the Pacers won, but it didn't make me feel any different of what I thought. I thought the game played out. The OKC did what they wanted. They weren't good early on. I mean, Shea outside of Shea, the team shot 37% from the field, and I know a lot of Shea was getting a lot of pushback, which I didn't technically agree with. Um, like he was aggressive, and I think he had to be because his team wasn't doing anything. Chet was horrible. Um, Dort was really good. I mean, outside of Dort, they shot 6 of 21 from three. So like, if it wasn't for Shea, they wouldn't have been in a situation to be even up that big of a thing. But I think the main topic is the turnovers. They cut it from 19 to I think they only had 5 or 6 in the second half, and that turned the game around for them. OKC, I think they were right there on the cusp of breaking the game open. I have like I have notes for each like for these games, and like I think I had 5 times I wrote danger zone for Indiana, and every time they would call a timeout, regroup, and knock it back down 6 or 7 points. And I thought that was really big by them. You talked about the resiliency. I thought that was really good by that team. Um, the turnovers plus they were plus what 18 in the turnover margin, and they had 11 points off those 24 turnovers. So that is the big story. Um, 14 live ball turnovers forced by them, only 7 points. They typically are really good at converting those pick sixes. Is pretty much what they are, and they just didn't convert at a high level there. So, I mean, credit to Indiana, man. I don't want to take up too much time, but yes, it's. I mean, we could do pretty much like a whole podcast on what transpired in this game, but that's like a broader view of what I thought or what I saw in that game one. I mean, it's a lot more other stuff, but I'll let you go and then we can just kind of go back and forth with that.
Yeah, once again, I feel like we can spend a lot of time deep diving it because we might have some takeaways that might carry over into game two. I'll start off with the starting lineup. We'll start at the beginning. Because the Thunder have won 80 games this season, if you want to include the postseason. 80. And they changed their starting lineup, which I thought was kind of bizarre. They benched Hartenstein. They ended up using Case and Wallace. And I get the argument is Indiana can go small. They can play up tempo. You want to match it. I thought Daigneault, as we saw in game one against the Nuggets and a couple of times in the series, there's a little bit of, I can't tell if it's game one experimentation or him just trying to be the smartest person in the room, and he makes adjustments that just do not need to be made, and he tries to overcorrect and tinker a bit too much. Because Daigneault, I thought, was horrific for most of the game. I'm going to ask you if you thought Case and Wallace starting made sense. Because initially, they got off to a great start. They were up like 7-1, 8-1 or something. It was 10-10 after 5 minutes. And then Hartenstein came in and was great for the end of the first quarter. Hartenstein had a great game. He had 9 and 9 off the bench. I thought he should have played more. But I thought that starting off with the starting lineup, I thought it was a really dumb decision to change what has been working for you for the entire season. I get you could argue you wanted to kind of shock Indiana, give them something they didn't expect, but you're the basically undefeatable team at home. Why are you playing into Indiana's hands before the series even starts? I'll start off there. I have a lot of issues with Daigneault for game one, but starting
Yeah,
off there, what do you think? Because I thought the change in the lineup was kind of insane.
yeah. I mean, I don't really. I didn't really have a problem with a ton of what Dagnall did. I mean, obviously, just like a lot of things, it's results based
Yeah.
because when they were up 15, 16 and looking like they're rolling, I mean, nobody was saying anything about Case and starting. So I think it's more results based than anything. But I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. I think Tom Haverstraw did a good job of illustrating. I think he said he went back. I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said he went back like 30 years to see if any of the lineup changes like happened to a team that was in the finals on either side.
For a 1
And
seed, it's not even
yeah,
like
yeah. I mean, I
you're a
don't think he.
Cinderella trying
Yeah,
to match the Thunder. You're the best team in the league.
yeah. I don't want to misquote. I don't have a quote in front of me, but I think his research was he went back and did either side, whether they were 1 seed,
Yeah.
2 seed, whatever. And he said he couldn't find anything that that transpired like this. So I mean, on one point, I understand where you come from. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I thought Dagnall was experimenting a little bit more. I mean, you saw AJ Mitchell get out there, who hadn't seen minutes at all in the playoffs, but he quickly, he got away from it. He saw what he needed to see. He got him out. I mean, maybe he saw something that that prompted him to go play. I don't know, but he got away from it. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I know he's lost, so it's you got to put some blame
No, for the
somewhere.
record, this is the first point. I have worse coaching
Yeah,
points
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna go through, but I'm starting at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, just a lineup. I mean, I didn't think it was a big deal. I mean, it's probably a bigger deal now that they actually lost, but I didn't think it was a big deal.
No, I just didn't understand it.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like it wasn't why they lost the game. I was just confused why you've won 80 games, you're the 1 seed at home, and you decide to try to change your lineup, your identity basically, to counter Indiana when you haven't even played a second yet of the finals. I just thought that was kind of a weird approach. Then that's going to segue into my second choice, which actually might have mattered because his plus minus in the game was -3, and they lost by 1. Why is AJ Mitchell playing first half minutes of game 1 in the NBA Finals? What was that about?
yeah. I don't. That's one that I can't put my finger on.
He was 0 for 3 in 4 minutes of the way. He missed like 2 shots in 1 possession where he bricked the 3, got a rebound, tried a floater, missed it badly. And I'm wondering, like, why is Mitchell in the game right now? What is happening?
He gave up the fly by 3.
Yeah.
On Hadley.
Oh
But
no,
yeah,
he was a complete liability on the court. I just don't know
yeah,
why he was on the court, for example.
yeah. That I can't justify. I can't justify that.
So that was 4 minutes of nothing, and that was -3. So just throwing that out there too, if you want to go through all of the issues I had with Dagnall in the game. I will mention the 4 minutes of nothing from Mitchell, which actually resulted in -3, which might have factored into the game. So I'll mention that too. Then you get into the decision towards the end of the game of going super small with your closing lineup for the last like 3+ minutes, which I thought was a really bad decision. I understand the argument was a lot of the turnovers you forced in the first half was with the small ball lineup. However, Indiana only turned the ball over, I believe it was 6 times in the second half. They did a great job when it comes to ball security. The problem was the Thunder couldn't rebound towards the end of the game. And Indiana actually won the rebounding battle 56-39. So they were dominating on the boards. They ended up with a total of 13 offensive rebounds. They had 43 defensive rebounds. And it just felt like the Pacers found a counter, which was capitalizing on the small ball lineup by just crashing the glass. And I want to mention the minutes that Hartenstein had in that fourth quarter, because Hartenstein started the fourth quarter. He got pulled with 7:44 to go in the fourth quarter, and he didn't come back in. So Hartenstein missed the last, basically second half plus of the fourth quarter. As for Chet, who was really bad, by the way, I'll get back to that in a second. He checked in at the 7:44 mark for Hartenstein, and he only played about 3 minutes, and they benched him for the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and they didn't bring back Hartenstein. So you were using basically J-Dub as your center for the last 4.5 minutes, and your team couldn't grab a rebound, which I thought was a big reason why they lost the game, because Siakam had the offensive rebound. They had a couple of second chance points there.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like Dagnall completely punted on both centers when I thought Hartenstein was actually good. And I guess the argument was Toppin made 5 threes, but Indiana even pulled Turner. They were using a Toppin 5 to try to stretch the defense out, and that forced Dagnall, I guess, to go small to match it, which I thought was insanely dumb. They couldn't grab a rebound. Hartenstein was, objectively speaking, solid over the course of the entire game on both ends. And I thought Dagnall benching both centers to play into Indiana's small ball lineup in the final 4 minutes of crunch time ended up punting the game away. So that's how I looked at it. I thought that benching Hardenstein and Chet for the final 4:30. Chet, I understand. Chet was horrible. If you wanted to bring Hardenstein back in for the last 4.5, I'm fine with that. But you couldn't go small. You got torched the entire fourth quarter because you could not rebound the ball. And that's why you lost the game. So I wanted to mention that. Having no center with J-Dub as your closer, as your closing big man, for the last 4.5 minutes, I thought was coaching just insanity. And I thought that ended up blowing the game for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I'm a little indifferent on that. 15-6 rebounding margin for Indy in the fourth quarter. 6 of those were offensive rebounds. I will push back on the Chet thing. He was horrible. I mean, I don't have an issue with him not playing.
I know Chet was bad. I'm just saying having at least one center in the game to help you with your rebounding while you're getting torched, giving up 6 offensive rebounds in the quarter.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I probably justify Hartenstein maybe coming in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not Chet. Chet was bad.
Yeah, I can get with you on that. But I think they had to, at no point in time in the game did I think until the last second. There's no point in the game where I thought that OKC was going to lose that game.
Yeah, we all felt the same way.
It's no, even when, especially whenever you saw that. And one thing that I will bring up, by the way, that not a lot of people will say, the refs in this game were great. Like they let them, like it was fair on both sides. They had all the right calls. It was a good flowing game. So shout out to them for reffing a really good game. And once they had the challenge by Carlisle on the Siakam play where he was out of bounds and they wanted to call a foul or whatever.
You can argue it was proximate, but to be honest, I'm happy they did not call that in the
final. Yeah, no, I think it was a great call. Both of the guys going for the ball. Call a foul unless he pushes him, but you can tell they both were going for the ball, arms tangled up, whatever. So there, I mean, I thought it was a game over because Shea had already had 2 back-to-back plays where he extended the game from 3 to 5, and I think 3 to 5 was both chances where he had the layup with the one hand, and then he had the backdoor. I think he had a backdoor play or something like that to push it up. But I mean, Shea just missed a shot that he normally makes, and I don't think it had anything to do with defense at all. But I mean, Dagnall maybe a little bit, a little bit of cause for concern. But I don't think he was horrible. I just think that they didn't rebound as a team normally as well as they generally do. And Indiana doesn't rebound the ball. I mean, they had 3 guys with 10 plus rebounds and another guy, Turner, with 9. So I think they put an emphasis on crashing the glass a little bit more than OKC, and it was just more of an effort thing than anything that I thought. That's how I looked at it. But I mean, Indy played hard, man. They played super hard. They made the right adjustments. Dagnall, I mean, I guess some blame. I don't think it was totally on him or whatever the case may be. But he just
it's never totally on the coach because J-Dub was not great. SGA bricked the wide open mid range jumper, but I thought using no center in the last 4.5 minutes when Hardenstein's been solid the entire game and you're getting killed on the glass, I thought that it was just an insane approach down the stretch by Dagnall for the lineup.
Yeah, what he probably would say was towards the end of the last Hartenstein stint before he got pulled, they were bringing him out and they were and Tyrese was getting looks off. For a minute, Tyrese couldn't even get a shot off. Like the two shots he got off that he made in the first half were all like just flybys, and one of them was a flyby and the other one was a miscommunication on the screen by Chet. So Carlisle saw that and he was like, okay, well, the Hartenstein's in the game, we're gonna bring him up in the pick and roll, and Tyrese was able to get off 3 or 4 shots. I think he only made one of those shots, but the fact that he was able to get the ball up, get it on the rim, and allow Indiana to offensive rebound was a big thing. So I think that's probably what he was thinking. I don't know, but just from looking at it in that way, that's how I probably would expect that he thought. So, yeah. But Hartenstein, I'll give you that. Like Hartenstein probably should have been on the floor.
I'm just throwing out everything that I thought was questionable. Now the starting lineup thing is just weird. It wasn't why they lost the game. The Mitchell minutes I thought were ridiculous in the first half there. But I guess maybe I'm kind of trying to draw a comparison maybe between Dagnall and Ty Lue, where they treat game 1 kind of like an experimentation session, and they'll just throw stuff out there to see what works. And then if that ends up not working out, they'll scrap it for the rest of the series, and they'll go from there. Maybe that's what he's doing. Like I'm trying to justify the decision-making there, but it felt like Toppin, who was really bad in the first quarter, who then caught fire from 3 for the final 3 quarters.
He was the best player. He was the best player on the floor. He was the best player for Indiana the whole game. outside of
Yeah,
that
but
first quarter.
the point is, I think he was the reason why they benched Hartenstein, because you saw Carlisle bench Turner after those 2 3-pointers,
Mhm.
which caused Hartenstein to get benched. And by using Siakam and Toppin as your front court, that basically dared Dagnall to make a decision whether he should keep Hartenstein on the court and give up some threes, or does he go super small, trying to match what Indiana's doing. And I thought that Dagnall chose poorly. That's how I looked at it. Now, they could have won the game anyway. Jada missed a three-pointer. Shea bricked the wide-open mid-range jumper on the final possession offensively. Even Dort missed a three. It was a mess offensively for OKC down the stretch, which we've talked about before throughout the first couple of rounds. But the last point I'll make, which didn't matter because they were going to lose the game anyway, but there's 0.3 seconds left on the clock. The Thunder have an inbound, and the Thunder are, once again, having to chuck an alley-oop at the rim. They don't have a choice because the Thunder don't have enough time to actually get a shot off on the final possession. 0.3. So they have to lob it up, hoping for a tap-in. And at that point, you have to bring Hartenstein back into the game. You have to bring Chet. You have to use all the size that you have and just force an alley-oop attempt to win the game. And instead of that, Dagnall only had Chet with 4 other guards, which made no sense at all. Like, you could not win the game on a shot attempt. It had to be a tap-in. And the fact is, he just ended up not having any real opportunity for him to give the Thunder a chance to win the game, which I thought was the worst piece of coaching for the entire game. The other stuff you could argue is results-based, where, well, if this would have worked out, you wouldn't have roasted Dagnall that hard. You would have been more generous. Fine. I agree that some of that is results-based. However, mathematically speaking, you cannot get a shot off with 0.3 on the clock. Why is there only one center in the game for the alley-oop attempt at the rim? It made no sense from Dagnall at all. You needed Chet and Hartenstein on the court for the lob attempt at the end. And the fact that he only had Chet out there was insanely bad coaching. That actually made no sense. There was no excuse for why Chet was the only big man on the floor for that final inbound pass with a chance to win the game. Does it matter? Probably not, because Turner was going to punt it at the rim anyway. But it made no sense from a coaching perspective why you only had one center on the court for the final inbound pass on the inbound by Caruso with 0.3 left on the clock. That was my main issue for Dagnall. It's a small thing that does not explain why they lost, but it sums up how bad Dagnall was over the course of the game. He couldn't even do basic math when it came down to the final inbound of the game with a stoppage to set up the big man that he needed on the court for the final tip-in. It made no sense at all, and I have to roast Dagnall for that. There are only so many things that a coach can't control. SGA misses a wide open shot. Jada misses a shot. Dort misses a shot. Fine. You're going to make shots, miss shots, whatever. You got some open looks. But not having the right personnel on the court for the final inbound of the game is inexcusable. And I got to mention that for Dagnall because that was really bad. But I did think the two main issues I had with him were not using a true center in the final 4.5 minutes, and also the final inbound where he had the wrong guys on the court. Now, I do want to point out that I have to at least mention the very interesting game by Halliburton compared to SGA, because both of them had polar opposite games where SGA was noticeable and did a lot for the first 3 quarters or so, but SGA was awful down the stretch of that game. He was terrible for the final 2+ minutes. Halliburton, though, had 10 rebounds. Besides that, though, he was kind of a non-factor for the first 44 minutes, 45 minutes. He had a couple of three-pointers to stop some bleeding during the course of the game. But I find it kind of interesting how Halliburton has this certain, I'd say, mental edge, in my opinion, over the rest of the league at this point, where he can do nothing for the entire game, and yet he's basically guaranteed to make every clutch shot that he has. It's insane how Halliburton just has this ultra clutch gene which nobody else I've seen have in pretty much the league's history. He makes every shot down the stretch of games, which is nuts to me. But I wanted to mention it because Halliburton had himself a lackluster game for about 45 minutes. And you know what? It doesn't matter because he kept his head up, he kept his focus up, and when the main shot was available, he drained it. So props to Halliburton for showing mental toughness, for doing what he's done all postseason, which is finding himself in the right spot to take control of the game late, no matter how bad his performance was for the first majority, I say the majority of the game, and he won Indiana the game. So props to Halliburton for making another clutch shot game winner, which he's done in every series of this postseason, which is just insane to me. The Knicks one was technically a tie, but you get what I'm trying to say. Halliburton's clutch gene is unlike anything I've seen before, and props to him there. For SGA, he was a mess down the stretch. He ended up going through the actual numbers here, he made a layup with 4 to go. And at that point, he made 2 free throws with 3:24 to go. And he made another free throws at 2:52. And from that point, he was kind of underwhelming. He made a shot there with 1:27 to go, got a rebound. But then he got blocked in the next possession by Siakam. Then he gave up the offensive rebound to Siakam with a putback, so that was definitely not great. Then he bricked the shot at the end. So, and then he also got crossed over by Nembhard, who hit that crazy three-pointer, which was a very nice shot by Nembhard. But I thought that SGA really had a mess of the final minute and a half. The Nembhard three-pointer, look, I feel like going into a possession, you'll dare Nembhard to make a hezzy cross three-pointer at the end of a shot clock. He still got crossed, but still, you can live with that shot. But the rebounding box out for Siakam was awful. That's why he gave up a rebound there. Siakam punted his shot, and as the MVP, he bricked the mid-range jumper, which is his main shot. It's the shot he wanted. It would have put them up 3, and he bricked it. So I thought SGA had the opposite game of Halliburton, where he was good for the most part, then was really bad down the stretch. Halliburton was really bad during the entire game, but had himself a monster couple of minutes there, including the game winner for the game 1. But I wanted to mention Shea too. We're at about the 30-minute mark, but Shea, look, I know he took 30 shots, he had 38 points. He was really bad down the stretch, pretty much in all facets. On the boards, scoring in the final couple of possessions, and defensively, Nembhard cooked him on that possession. I thought SGA did not play well enough for an MVP to close the game out. But it was mostly the mid-range jumper, which is his shot, and he bricked it.
Yeah, I don't put any blame. I mean, he missed a shot.
No, I know. I'm just throwing out that Shea, I thought, definitely didn't do a good job defensively and rebounding as well during the last minute or two. He's not why they lost the game, but that missed mid-range jumper hurts.
Yeah, and I thought, I mean, he was even before the jumper, like when they were threatening, they cut it to like 6 and cut it to 3. He was the person who made it. Like nobody else was doing anything. So, I mean, it's hard to put any kind of I get it, but it's hard to put any kind of blame on a guy who carried you to that point and who down the stretch hit bucket after bucket, getting to his spots. He just literally just missed a shot. And then the Nembhard thing, I mean, I would live with that. I would have him take that shot.
You live with it too, but the point is SGA was put on an island and Nembhard scored. I thought the defense was okay.
He probably could have played.
You're going to dare Nembhard to make that. I mean, it is what it is, but the fact is, Shea gave up. But I get
the Shea thing, but I mean, and I thought early on he was like pressing a little bit more than what he generally does. And I thought some of the shots that he was taking were unlike him, but then he kind of got back into the really good Shea that we know. But early on, I mean, I don't think they did. I don't think the defense was. I don't think they did anything on him to. I mean, he had 38, and the efficiency thing. I mean, he did shoot 30 shots, but I mean, he was
14 to 30. He was fine.
He was almost 50%. Like
he was fine.
I don't. Yeah, I did. The thing that I see I see a lot of people saying, not in here, but just.
I just meant down the stretch for SGA. I thought he has to play better.
Maybe down the stretch, but I mean, I don't get a lot of the SGA. I guess discourse. I mean, maybe I just disagreed, but yeah, I thought he was fine. I mean, he had his moments, but I mean, what about Chet? What about J-Dub? What about?
Oh no, like Chet, I thought was the.
I mean, obviously, he's obviously Shea is, on a different level, and he should be
Yeah.
held to a higher
No,
standard.
Chet was really bad, though. Like,
Yeah,
Chet got benched. He was that bad. He played
yeah,
24 minutes.
yeah,
He was a +4, but he couldn't be played. That's how bad he was down the
yeah.
stretch. I thought J-Dub was bad, too. He was 6 of 19. I thought they were the main reasons why. Case and Wallace was not very good either. So that was another guy you can mention. I would mention those guys first, but I have to point out, though, as the MVP, I thought Shea had a pretty brutal final minute and a half or so. It was not a
Yeah, I mean,
good
the shot,
closing of the game.
but that shot that he took, he probably
Yeah.
makes it like 7 out of 10.
And the rebound of Siakam was rough, too. When he gave up the offensive rebound putback. I get Siakam's bigger, but it was a pretty easy offensive rebound for him. But
Yeah,
point
but
is, Chet was a mess. J-Dub was a mess. We'll see what happens moving forward, but nice job by Indiana to steal game 1. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I missed your take. My computer just randomly died for no reason with the charge.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah,
I was just mentioning Dagnall not using Hartenstein and Chet for the final inbound pass.
Yeah, that's
when
all
you
good.
couldn't when you couldn't actually have enough time to take a regular shot.
Yeah.
So I thought that was the biggest coaching malpractice move of the game, but it really probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. So there we go. Anyway, before we move on into the preview for Game 2 on Sunday, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is EdgeBoost, the first ever bank for bettors, ensuring that all your gambling transactions are approved. Your use fees and minimums, cash rewards as well, 100% approval. For all deposits on today, EdgeBoost.peppercode SGPN. And when you sign up this week, you'll get a free Reds for Terrorists t-shirt. Go to sportscamp.com/Reds to claim your free shirt today. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, because if you sign up for your Underdog once again promo, they are going along for the NBA Finals with their extender bonus Hop in Game 1. Hopefully it did so already. And the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. And a reminder, if you sign up for a new account, use the promo code NBSGPN to get a special pick and first time with an offer up to 1K in bonus cash on fantasy promo code NBASGPN. We're also brought to you by NYRA Bets, because the Belmont Stakes is coming up at Saratoga. And you can bet on it with NYRA Bets. Sign up today with promo code SGPN25. Get a $55 free bet plus a $200 deposit match bonus. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just getting started, NYRA Bets can make it easy for you to jump in on the action. So the offer is just available for the Belmont Stakes. So don't wait. Join now and claim your free $25 Belmont bet today at NYRABets.com/SGPN25. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of Game 1. Took a long time, but to be fair, we're probably going to draw some takeaways from Game 1 and carry it over into Game 2. That's why we did deep dive it. Point is, though, for the Game 2 lines, Thunder are even a bigger favorite than they were in Game 1. They're minus 11.5, and the over-unders at 227.5. Now, for this game, we saw a precedent set for the Thunder in that Nuggets series. If they lose Game 1 at home, they might win Game 2 by 40. So that is why the line is higher. We'll see if Indiana either coasts through Game 2 or maybe finds a way to keep this interesting and maybe steal it again late. For the injury report, probably nothing. I mean, it looked like both teams were pretty healthy, and Chet got benched because of ineptitude, not because of injury. So I'll ask you for this matchup, first of all, 11.5. Do you agree with the bigger spread in a must-win game for the Thunder, or do you think it's another disrespectful line where Indiana might find a way to cover?
I mean, I'm not laying 11.5, but I can you can justify it just based off history and what they've done after a loss. They haven't. I don't think they've lost back-to-back games maybe 2 times all year, 2 or 3 times all year. And I think maybe that might have came like one home, one road. So I don't think they've lost 2 back-to-back home games this year at all. I could be wrong, but I think that's the chance. But I mean, I think that's the stat. But I mean, the Thunder obviously are going to come out. Desperation. Pacers got this split, and we saw them in this position 2 other times in the 2 prior series where you say, hey, they'll be happy with the split, but they weren't, and they ended up going 2-0. You realize like they're 4-0 in Game 1 and 2s when they're on the road. Like they're really good at Game 1s and 2s. Now, obviously, this is a step up in class from those Eastern Conference teams, and you can justify the number, but I don't want to lay it. I would look at OKC first quarter, first half, and now that OKC has seen what they did wrong. I mean, if you can make a case on both sides that you can like take something away, something positive, a lot of positive away, but also a lot of negative. If you're the Pacers, you'll say, hey, we turned the ball over, almost 20 times and a half. We were still right there. We won the game. You saw what we did in the second half. All we got to do is cut down the turnovers, get more guys involved. Our best 2 guys did not play well. Like Siakam did not play well. Halliburton, before that shot, I didn't even know he was on the floor. He wasn't getting the ball. He was pretty much off in the corner. as a secondary ball handler, while Nimhard and Neesmith or Turner were working the middle pick and roll. So like he was non-existent. So thankfully he made that shot, but he was non-existent. I mean, 14 points on 13 shots. He only had what 6 assists, 7 assists, or something like that. So um, I thought that they did a really good job on him. I thought they did a really good job on Siakam, OKC. That is, I think OKC's players will play better. Dort was the only guy that showed up outside of Shea. J Dub had his moments, but overall, I don't think if I'm the Thunder, I'm thinking like, hey, we probably we botched that game. They did nothing to deter anything that like I didn't come away, even though they won, I didn't come away feeling any different than I thought coming into the series. I think the Pacers will be overmatched. It'll just probably be in 6 games rather than 5. I know the consensus was 5 games, but I mean, hey, I would probably like betting wise, I would probably stay away. But if 11.5 probably seems about right. Long story short.
Yeah, I think it feels right as well. The question is, do I actually trust the Thunder to, I'd say, keep mental focus? And if Indiana keeps the game close, do I trust the Thunder to close? I don't. I don't. I think if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, Indiana's got a shot to, worst case scenario, cover, because I don't trust the Thunder to actually get enough scoring down the stretch of their games. The Thunder should win game 2 pretty comfortably if we're going based on how they played for the most part in game 1 and how much more the game means to the Thunder than the Pacers. I don't see the Pacers punting this game though. We saw in game 2 after they pulled out the miraculous comeback in game 1, Siakam at 39, and they stole game 2 as well. I don't believe in punting games in the finals. I think in the playoffs, you try to win every game. And if you end up getting beaten by a team that showcases more effort, then that happens. But I think that the Pacers will be trying to win both games here. Why not? You had 19 turnovers in the first half of a game, and you still won. You beat a team that had the highest point differential at home in the history of the NBA playoffs. I think Indiana goes for it. I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but I think the notion that the Thunder are guaranteed to smack this team in game 2 is disrespectful to Indiana. And I think that the Pacers can hang in there. They can lose by 8 points. Doesn't matter to the Thunder. They're going to get bonus points for winning by margin. The question is, will the Thunder be able to deliver that, I'd say, dagger that they were not able to deliver in game 1? And if the Thunder go up 20 in the first half, the last team I'm writing off is the Pacers. Because they just invent ways to win games they have no business winning. So it's not even a fluky thing for Indiana because they've done it in every round of the postseason. This is just part of the identity. No matter how bad they might play early on, they sign up for 48 minutes. And they are a team that never throws in the towel. And I give Carlisle a bunch of respect for instilling that belief in his team to not roll over and die when most teams would roll over in that situation. So Indiana has been able to survive, I'd say, outbursts by their opponents early in games. They've been able to survive avalanches, and they find ways to keep themselves in games by doing just enough to hang in there before making the run. For game 2, I think the Thunder are going to win. I'm not picking Indiana to go up 2-0. Nothing against Indiana, but I do think the Thunder can make some tweaks, play Hardenstein a bit more. Maybe I'm picking J-Dub and Chet to be a little bit better for the second game. But I do think for the overall spread, I don't want to lay 11.5 with a team that can really struggle offensively at the end of games. I think Indiana can backdoor this, where they're down 15 with 4 minutes to go. They cut it to 9, and they lose by 9. I can see that happening for this one. I'll take the Pacers, plus the 11.5. The spread feels high to me. I get the must-win element, and we saw this with Denver in 2 series ago, where they lost game 1 and Denver no-showed game 2. Denver's also willing to punt games. We've seen this over the years because they have no bench at all. So if they fall behind early, they'll rest guys by giving them some extra time off, and they'll wave the flag. Indiana doesn't do that. Indiana's willing to go down swinging, and I do think they'll be able to keep this game close. I'll go with the Pacers plus the points. I like the under in the game, though. I do think defensively, Indiana found some things as the game went on to at least limit the Thunder's half-court
You think
offense.
so?
I think they did. Mainly, it was trying to load up on Shea down the stretch and dare J-Dub and Chet to make shots. But I'm going to ask you, though. Dort made 5 3-pointers. I don't see that being sustainable. I mean, Hartenstein had 9 points, but you're going down the line. J-Dub was 6 of 19. Dort had 15. Caruso had 11 off the bench. But were you sold in the supporting cast? Because Casey Wallace was terrible.
I'm sold that. I'm sold that the supporting cast for Indy won't do that again versus the OKC bench. Probably.
I agree. That's why I like the under.
Yeah.
I think there's a path for both offenses to look a bit underwhelming because I do think Indiana's supporting cast had a great game. Not saying it's going to happen again, but for the Thunder, Chet and J-Dub we've seen be quite streaky so far in the postseason. Dort was actually good from 3, which has not been a common theme this postseason. Cason Wallace played 33 minutes, which might be a few too many, and he was 3 of 9. I think you can make the argument that this game actually landed 221, mainly because of a really ugly first half by Indiana. But game 1 went under, and you also had a bunch of supporting cast step-ups games for Indiana. Toppin made 5 3-pointers. I don't see Toppin and Dort combining for 10 3-pointers in game 2, and this total's higher than when game 1 ended. Or landed. Give me the under in this game. And this line's pretty high.
Yeah, I think the spread is. I mean, I think the over/under is predicated on the Thunder capitalizing more off of those turnovers. Now, granted, you can say, hey, if you're on the Pacers side, you can say, well, they're not going to turn it over 24 times, and they probably won't. But again, the Thunder made them do things that, and credit to Carlisle for doing it, but the Thunder made them get away from. They weren't pressing as much as they usually do because of what so Dagenhart was basically saying, okay, if you're going to press, we're going to just bring a guy up, screen Nembhard or Nesmith off of Shea or whoever the ball handler is early, and you're in scramble mode from the jump because now you have Toppin or Siakam or Turner on SGA or J-Dub, and now we get to play our game in half court, whereas you have to switch things up a little bit more. And then they were beating the press, and it was 3-on-2 on the backside, and they were just getting layups. So they got out of it a little bit quicker than they usually do. I mean, I don't think Indiana did anything to slow down OKC at all. But I do think that the Pacers offense will play a lot better. Obviously, with their 2 key guys playing a little bit better. Now you might not get 19 from Toppin, but I think his activity is huge. I thought, even though he didn't show up a ton, but I thought Matherin's little spurt, he had like a minute and a half spurt on defense and offense where he got the block on J-Dub. He got an offensive rebound. He got a putback. So like he was really active. I think he only ended with 5 points, but
you see that exchange he had with Hartenstein at the free throw line?
Yeah. He said you fouled me. Yeah. He said,
no, Hartenstein's like, I didn't foul. He's like, you did this. He's like, yeah. He's just like, oh, okay, all right. Like, I thought he was confident. Look, Matherin's a guy, to build on your point. Even when he's not having the best efficiency game, he's fearless, which kind of sums up the entire mentality of the team. Because Obi Toppin, if you want to draw a parallel, was awful for the first quarter. He had like 2 separate backcourt violations, a couple of brick shots. It looked like they were going to pull the plug on him. And then he showed up in the second quarter and immediately started draining shots, and he was a big reason why they won the game. He was in the closing unit.
Yeah, he was the best. He was the best player.
He was terrible for the first 5 minutes of the first quarter.
Yeah, he was.
When he came in.
So was the entire Pacers team. But like he was the reason. Him and McConnell were the 2 best players on the floor. For that whole game.
But that's the point, though, is that Indiana has a bunch of guys, whether they start or they come off the bench, that are just absolute dogs, that are willing to show everybody on the court that they belong on the court, and they have full confidence in themselves. And Obi was maybe a little bit too excited. The whole team was in the first half. Mm-hmm. Obi was really bad early on. And then, you know what? Him and Matherin, even Nembhard, Halliburton's the main player, so I'll ignore him for a second. But the role guys, they are all constantly showcasing their fearlessness, and they are ready for any type of environment. And that comes down to coaching. They do a great job just getting Indiana's guys ready and full of confidence the entire time. Yeah, and if I told you in the first 5 minutes of the game with Toppin, or the first 5 minutes Toppin was on the court, that he would be in the closing unit for Indiana, you would have thought the Thunder won by 30. That's what you would have thought. But no, like that's what I'm saying. Mathurin played a couple of minutes. He wasn't that great, but he was noticeable because he had a couple of spark plug moments where he was not going to back down from the challenge.
Yeah, and I think if you saw the like they highlighted Carlisle his some of his halftime speech and him in the huddle.
Yeah.
He was constantly preaching, look, we're right there. We're getting good looks. Threes just aren't falling. They'll fall. Just kind of stick with the process, stick with the plan. And I think the Pacers, one thing that they really do well. If I'm not mistaken, I think Haverstraw and KOC were talking about this, and I thought it was a really good point by I think it was KOC that brought it up. Is that more often than not, the team who's down, like they try to get a 6-point shot or a 10-point shot or a 5-point shot. But the Pacers, they run their offense, they get things going. They try to chip away slowly but surely instead of trying to hit the home run. It's essentially like what we do. Like most people who gamble want to get rich quick. So they put together 6 and 7 leg parlays trying to bet $2 to win 200.
And in baseball terms, it's the equivalent of trying to hit the grand slam when you can just take a 2-run single.
And they hit a lot of singles and doubles. So they place a lot of straight bets. And that is beneficial to getting these leads down and clawing back because they're not trying to go out of their element to do something. And that's a credit to Carlisle and that staff. And I think they do a really good job of that. And I think the issue that the Thunder have is that, hey, we can't like screw around. Like when we're up, like I thought 2 different times, like Shea, I know he typically plays the whole first quarter and he comes in about the 6-7 minute mark, depending on how the flow of the game is going. I thought at the fourth quarter, he usually sits in the first few minutes of the fourth quarter as well. I thought in that fourth quarter and in the third quarter when he was sitting, I thought he should have came back in. Like I thought he should have came back in because you know that this team is resilient and you know how well they play and thrive in those type of moments. You gotta just put your foot on their neck. You can't just let them see any kind of daylight at all. No matter if it's, even down 9 with what 3 minutes left, 3:08 you said, or 8 with 3:08. Like
they were down 9 with I believe it was like 2:50, 2:40 to go in the game.
And they're not dead. And so I think he's got to tinker with the rotations. Maybe he doesn't typically have to shrink it a ton, but I think
Mitchell should never play again.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as like playing his guys, like fine, play Wiggins, play Joe, play whatever you want to do. But I think the timing of when you bring these guys back during certain situations is key.
I think that's true. I think one other issue you run into, which kind of goes into what you're saying about Indiana's offense, is the ball movement. It feels like with OKC, and it makes sense because you have a star player. You have SGA, who's probably the best isolation scorer in the league. There's a lot of possessions featuring nothing off ball, where you're running, I don't know if you want to call it the Gilbert Arenas 1-4 flat, but you're basically just telling Shea to dribble in the same spot for about 20 seconds and then make something up. That's usually how it goes down the stretch for OKC. Now, it worked out where you had a couple of role players breaking shots because Indiana started collapsing everybody on Shea to force the ball out of his hands. But the Thunder, I still think, get too stagnant at times down the stretch where they rely so much on SGA ISO ball that nobody else on the court actually moves, and that causes a very predictable late-game offensive approach. Indiana was letting Nembhard dribble the ball, like in the final couple minutes, letting Halliburton go off ball.
Yeah, he was off ball the whole fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying. Like they were trying stuff that they would be doing for the entire game. And the Thunder reverted back into no movement at all, running the 1-4 flat, and it didn't work. And we've seen that be an issue for them this entire postseason. So props to the Pacers for sticking with it. Either way, though, point is definitely a very entertaining Game 1 comeback, an all-time great finals comeback, and we'll go from there. But for Game 2, if you want to move into some player props for this game, anybody that you want to either sell high on or buy low
on? I think I want to sell low on Obi Toppin. His points.
You mean sell high on Obi Toppin?
Sell high, yeah. I do think that he will continue to play simply because of his athleticism and the length that he has. He's not really a good defender, but he's active. He's good in help side. Offensively, like if you put, like you saw early on in that first quarter, they were making him put the ball on the floor versus him just standing and shooting. So he's a completely different player when he does that. So I think you got to make him put the ball on the floor. I think the Thunder will make those adjustments. So I'm looking to sell high on Obi Toppin on his points under.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start off with Siakam. Give me the over in rebounds at 6.5. 6.5 is too low at minus 120. I get he did no rebounding during the entire Knicks series, but this is a different team. And the fact that Siakam, whether the Pacers go small or not, is a pretty decent rebounder when he needs to be. And you know what? They needed him in game one because he had 10 rebounds. He had a double-double in that game. He's actually had at least 9 rebounds in 4 of the last 5 games against the Thunder in 3 meetings this season. He has had at least 9 rebounds in every game. You're looking at Miles Turner, by the way, who ended up having a very good rebounding game. Turner had 9 rebounds. It's the first time he's had 8+ rebounds in a month. So that's more rebounds up for grabs potentially for Indiana. But the point is, I do think that Siakam needs to rebound the ball. He has done so historically speaking, and he had 10 in game 1. I think it's a good spot for Siakam. I feel like the odds maker should have adjusted the rebounds more. I'd have it at 7.5 personally, but give me the over on his rebounds. I think 6.5 at minus 120 is a good price. Give me the over on Siakam rebounds.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you want to just stick with the Pacers, I like Nembhard's assists over. He's got 14 in his last 2. I really think they are going to utilize him more off the ball. I mean, more on the ball than off. They'll probably use him as a secondary ball handler. I mean, he's pretty much the only other ball. I mean, Siakam's okay, but as far as initiating offense, I thought we saw Nembhard take a step in his past 2 games. And this one specifically, I mean, I know he only had 6 assists, but he had multiple like hockey assists where he would pass it to Halliburton, and Halliburton would make another read and get it to the right place. And I think he'll continue to do that. I think he'll continue to have the ball in his hands. That line will be it'll stay low like it is. I think it's at let's see, I forgot what it was at. Do you have his assists anywhere?
For Nembhard?
Yeah. Oh, okay, I got it right here. No, you're good. It's at 4.5. It's juiced a little bit, but I think it's fairly. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I'll take his assists over.
Yeah, it's at minus 145
Yeah,
if you wanted to go for that. Thinking of other people, I do want to ask you about Chet and Cason Wallace, the guys who are actually not very good. Maybe Jada, if you want to throw them in there too. Are you picking a bounce back from either guy, or you want to fade anybody again?
Well, on OKC side, I'm expecting him to play well as a unit. I think Chet will bounce back. I think he'll be a lot better on both sides. I think more so he had to be better, like defensively. Like he was horrible. Like a lot of those threes that were that Indy was getting were wide open. I know they were in the corner. They didn't shoot outside of the corner threes. I think 10 of their 18 threes came from the corner. So Chet was miscommunicating. He was getting. They don't usually do a lot of switching, and in that specific situation, they were like Chet was in between, and it was allowing Obi to get open threes, Turner to get open threes, even Nembhard on a couple, or Neesmith as well. So I think he'll be better. I was looking at Chet steals and blocks. I think he'll have a better overall game. As far as Wallace, I mean, he didn't start off well, but he finished okay. He's got a few plays in that short roll where he would throw an alley to J Dub. He's just not like the shot's not falling, but he had a couple back doors. He's getting the benefit of having Tyrese on him, so maybe they funnel some offense through him a little bit more. But I'll probably just stay away from him until I see him knock down some shots. But I do think Chet has a really good game, though.
Yeah, I don't know about really good, but he can't be that bad again. I'll put it out that way. If I'm going to fade one guy who struggled in game 1, it would be Cason Wallace because he started and played 33 minutes. Like, Chet's going to play more than he did in game 1. They benched him because he was that bad. Cason Wallace, though, played 33. I think a lot of that came down to the turnovers that they were forcing in the first half, which Indiana did correct in the second half. They only had 6 turnovers the entire second half. But Wallace playing 33 minutes is too many. I like him in that 25-minute range or so, but 33 is kind of crazy. I like his under 11.5 PR. He's had a less than 12 PR in 7 straight games, and he's not even been close. He's had a less than 11 PR in 4 straight. Even despite playing 33 minutes in game 1, he only had 8 PR. So give me Cason Wallace under 11.5 PR for this one as well. I think he'll play not nearly as much in game 2, mainly because they went small, because Chet was that bad, that you saw Cason playing a bit more. But I think he's playing too much. I'd give Wallace less, give him 8 minutes less, 25 minutes or so. Give me Cason Wallace under on his 11.5 PR for this one. Anything else you want to add for game 2, or should we move on into the lock and dog?
Oh, no, we can go into the lock and dog.
Cool. So moving on into the lock and dog picks for the show. Before we get into that, though, reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Circa, because they are still hosting the Ultimate Fantasy Bowl giveaway because they are allowing a 12-person league to draft in Vegas and be showing VIPs for their stay. So you could get a limo ride from the airport, 5K tab for stadium swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. Once again, a free contest to enter with all those perks. Enter also the promo code SGP15 even if you're not in the contest, to get 15% off all Circa properties. So keep that in mind with a special SGPN discount. Also, though, enter the contest for free at sportscampus.com/Circa, sportscampus.com/CIRCA. We're also brought to you by Rhythm because Rhythm, of course, is a sponsor that we've been mentioning for a long time on this podcast, and they dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. They are AI detected patterns. Rhythm's models have consistently have a high ROI as well. And they update and upload them every day. They're exclusive to Rhythm. No touts, no noise, just clean data back picks. Download the Rhythm app, check out Power Trends, start betting smarter. And a reminder, you can also try it for a free week. They have a free trial. So check out the link, sportscam.com/rhythm, to get your 7-day free trial. We're also brought to you by MyBookie, because MyBookie.ag is a place for every sport. They have the NBA playoffs, they have the NHL playoffs, they have the baseball cards, they have tennis, you name it. They're also available in 10 locations. Use crypto for all interest payouts. Easy deposit. Sign up, though, for your new account. Use the promo code SGPN to get a special 100% deposit match up to 1K. Terms and conditions on MyBookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the preview of Game 2. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks for Game 2. Lonte, what do you like for the lock and dog?
Yeah, so we'll make it short and sweet. I like the first quarter OKC -4.5. Paying a little bit of the tax. Actually, it's reduced, but it generally, so it went from 2.5 up with the point spread to 4.5. So it was like 9.5, 10 in the game one for the full game spread, and then the first quarter was 2.5, and now you adjust that and you get 4.5. So it's reduced juice -105. I mean, I think they came out, played really well to start off, and then they kind of steadied off, and then they ended well. I think they'll come out with their hair on fire again. I think they'll see more guys involved. Shea taking less shots, getting guys involved. Maybe look at Shea assists too as well. That's one of the ones that I was going to look at also. But likewise, -4.5 on the OKC first quarter. Dog, I'm going to go back to Lu Dort. I thought Lu Dort. I thought this was a series that he would play well in. He played well. Obviously, he's playing well defensively all the time, but offensively, I thought this is the kind of series that he would shoot the ball well. He's had confidence. He's had 3+ only 3 times this whole postseason, but that carried over from, I think he had 4 threes in the finale against Minnesota, and then that carried over. He had 4 again tonight. So let's take him. I mean, last night. So let's take him 3+ threes. I'm gonna ladder him up to 5, but 3+ threes is +120. So I'm gonna take Lu Dort to do so. He's going to get the volume. You talked about the loading up on Shea. That opens up a lot of open space for him. And he was hitting them. I mean, he's going to get the volume. I think he's been around 7 to 8 attempts his entire postseason. So I think he's going to keep that up. And I think he'll knock down 3 or 4. So let's go +120 for Lu Dort, 3+ threes.
Yeah, by the way, JR, I see him mentioning for jokes Kenrich Williams unders. If he doesn't play, it gets voided. But if he subs in for a defensive package maybe for 20 seconds, that actually does count. So you can keep that in mind. They could end up working out. For my lock, though, I'm going to go some props for this game. For the lock, I'm going to go back to Cason Wallace. I am going to go back to that under 11.5 PR play at -130. He has gone under this in 7 straight. He only had 8 despite playing 33 minutes in Game 1. He really should play less minutes. I like Cason Wallace. I think he's a solid player. But 33 minutes is way too many for him. He's 21 years old in his first ever finals game, and he played 33 minutes. You might want to pump the brakes on the usage there. He played because Chet was really bad. They benched Hartenstein too for no reason, in my opinion. I see him playing 25 in this game. I expect Hartenstein to start in Game 2, which should result in less minutes for Cason by default. I don't see him being in the closing unit. He might be, but of course he will be the guy standing in the corner waiting to get the ball, and if not, he's not going to do anything. So I think that, once again, backing the prop that has cashed in 7 straight, despite him having a monster boost in minutes in Game 1, and still wasn't even close to this number. I'll go with that. Give me Cason Wallace under 11.5 PR as my lock. For my dog, I'm going to go with an alt line. Give me Siakam over 7.5 rebounds at +146. I think it's a good price. He had 10 in Game 1. He's been great against the Thunder. He's had at least 9 rebounds in 4 of the last 5 against the Thunder. They need him. Miles Turner, who's allergic to rebounding, had 9 rebounds in game 1, and Siakam still had 10. There are some, I'd say, once again, opportunities up for grabs if Turner regresses with his rebounds. I think that Nesmith also had double-digit rebounds in that game. So there are some chances for Siakam to have a solid rebounding game. He had 10 in game 1, though. His line's at 7.5 plus 146. I'll take that. I think his rebounds can be consistent over the course of the series. And I don't think it was a fluky 10 rebounds. I think it was deserved. But Indiana crashed the glass. He did a good job in the second half, especially. Give me Siakam over on his rebounds. Alt line, 7.5 at plus 146 as my dog. Now, Lonte, time for the dog entry. We've actually been pretty good with these so far in the postseason. Do you want to run back any of the plays that I had or that we had, or do you want to go from scratch?
Totally up to you, man. Whatever you decide, we'll go with. I'll tell you the one that I liked the most was the I like the Dort threes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be at 1.5 on Underdog. That's my favorite one.
Okay. Any thoughts on the Siakam rebounds?
I love Siakam rebounds. Yeah, I bet that as well. It was plus money. Yeah, I think I got plus 105 at 6.5. So completely agree with you. I think he's going to have to play a little bit more. He was playing a lot more. I thought this would happen. He played a lot more like 5, and the Obi Toppin is, I guess, bigger, but he was more so on the perimeter. And you saw Siakam posting up a little bit more. He's getting a little offensive rebounds, especially when OKC went small. Now the counter probably to that would be you see a little bit more Hartenstein and Chet on the floor at the same time. But again, I still think that Siakam can be relentless on the glass and get close to 10 rebounds.
Okay, so I actually found a prop that I like, but it's not an underdog, which kind of sucks. There's going to be Siakam lower on his turnovers, but unfortunately that is not listed, so I can't use that. Okay, so Dort's at 2.5, so we can't use that. We can use the Case and Wallace play and the Siakam rebounds if you want to just go for the recycle of my 2 plays.
That's cool.
Okay, so we can do those 2. And then is there anything else you wanted to take? We can go for McConnell. We can go for maybe, I was going to say Caruso lower on his assists, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to go here, but I like Halliburton. I'm betting Halliburton under every game. His points.
For points, you mean?
Yeah, I'm betting under every game.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I like this under on points in game 1. That got
if you want to go PA, I don't mind that either.
Yeah, he didn't have many assists in game 1 too.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. He doesn't have the ball in his hands as much as he had in previous series. So that's not.
Yeah, we can do that. So we'll go with Halliburton on his lower 25.5 PA. He only had 20 in game 1, despite having the game winner. He has actually gone under this number in 4 straight against the Thunder. Not even close. At less than 22 PA in 4 straight against the Thunder. So I'm fine with this. We can take this as well for the injury. So once again, the 3 picks for the night entry, we're going to go with Siakam higher, 6.5 rebounds. Case and Wallace lower, 11.5 PR. And we'll also go with Halliburton lower, 25.5 PA. Anyone's going to wrap it up for the show. A reminder that game 2's on Sunday. So we are not going to have another episode for the weekend. We'll back probably on Monday to break down game 3. With so much time off in between games, we can kind of do them whenever we want to. But I kind of like doing them early because these lines move a lot for props and you get a pretty good read on the props early on. You can beat some line moves, so I like it. But either way, Lonte, anything else you want to add?
That's it, man. Hopefully we are in for another good game. I'm not a ratings guy. I never will be. But have the ratings came out for them? I'm interested to see what they were. Do you know off the top? I mean, you don't have to look. I'm just asking.
Yeah. Once again, we can decide when we want to actually record these, but should be fun. We'll have the schedule posted, or I'll get it done at some point next week. But yep, either way. A point is, of course, a reminder, check out the other shows on the network as well. The MLB show that Lonte and I are on. I did a prop show with Adam earlier this morning. A tennis show coming out later today, so keeps me busy. Point is, though, until next time, find me on Twitter, Radio. Find him on Twitter at XXLonteXX. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of